Hey there, good afternoon. Today I wanted to talk about personal knowledge management and why you should care and how you can get started. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Adam Melrose. I am an attorney based out of North Carolina, and this is a topic that I'm very interested in because my day to day job is very directly related to the storage and being able to pull information back out of a hat and use it for future projects. So personal knowledge management is something I'm fascinated with, both personally and I think it's just going to become more and more of a topic as we move forward with new technologies. So, what is personal knowledge management? So, personal knowledge management is simply put the collection and collation of what you know as a person and the data that you work with in your life. That's sort of a simple way of looking at it. There's also an older term for it called personal information management. It's basically the same thing. They have switched the information to knowledge, but it's essentially the same term. It's basically the creation and organization and use of things that you need in your daily life that will make your life easier. Usually for topics that you will probably need in the future, such as, you can look at stuff like bookmarks as a sort of knowledge management system that most people probably already use. You'll have bookmark folders maybe for work, maybe for the whatever the fan fiction you like to read, whatever it may be. You probably have bookmarks in specific folders. That is a form of personal knowledge management. This is just a more formalized approach to it, and the basic goal with personal knowledge management is just to make your day to day life easier, and to push your life forward, and see progress. So the easiest way to get started is just to write down the things that you have to, that you catch yourself having to look up more often than not. If you have to keep looking up that YouTube password or the Netflix password, why not put it somewhere that it's much easier to retrieve, and just collate all those passwords into one place? Or if you're always having to look up the contact information for the person at the bank, why not just create a note that has all the bank information, your account numbers, your the name, the phone number, the email address, whatever you need, put it all in one place, and now that is the management of your knowledge. So it makes your day to day life more efficient and just less wasted time. Which efficient stuff's the name of my channel. That's what I am interested in, and that's what I'm. That's the easiest way to get started, and you will notice an immediate, uh, positive feedback loop just by getting it to the point where you are cutting down on the wastage for looking things up. The biggest thing with the knowledgement part of it, so personal information versus personal knowledge. Personal information is information retrieval. Knowledge is usually used in the sort of the framework of businesses, such as internal Wikipedia, wikis, and other like Confluence and other types of programs where you have policies and procedures, and that knowledge, sort of starts from the person writing it down and is collated throughout the organization. That's usually the term for knowledge. From a personal standpoint, knowledge is more of finding those connections between things that you're interested in and different topics, and really sort of condensing it down and being more intentional with the stuff that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis. I mean, this is just an intentional approach to things that you already are doing to some degree, in an attempt to make things easier for you. So that is what it is, and why it matters. I So how to get started is sort of the last thing I wanted to cover. This video is going to be pretty short. I think that most people get bored after about 10 minutes, so I'm not even going to get there. So the easiest way to get started is to start. I know that sounds silly, but it's the truth. The easiest way is to start writing things down now. As soon as you look something up that you know that you're going to need at some point in the future, write it down, organize it. The way that I would recommend doing it is using a program such as Obsidian, which I will link at the end of this video. I will give you a link to the introduction to Obsidian. It is essentially it's a program that basically is little tiny notepad files, and you can interlink them all. And I've been using it for, I guess, about a year and a half now. Love it. I use it for my personal knowledge management system is all on Obsidian. It's my recommendation. But you can use something like Apple Notes, notepads. You can use index cards. You can use email chains. I mean, you can do it however you want. It's There's no right way to do it. The best way to do it is just to get started, because the more you have, I'd like to analogize it to a snowball. The more you got in the system, the more likely you are to use the system, and the more likely you are to use the system, the more likely you are to add additional stuff to the system. So it becomes more and more useful the more you use it. So the only way to get that snowball rolling is to get started. My recommendation would just be to download Obsidian. It's free, and just start. And just start writing things down that you think you'll need. And as you get more comfortable with it, you can look at some other tutorials online to figure out more efficient ways to organize stuff. But please do not get obsessed with organization until you have enough information to need to organize. I think people like to organize to procrastinate. I think that's a big thing in our, especially for people that are interested in efficiency. We have a tendency to over optimize to the exclusion of actually being productive. So be productive first. You only need to worry about the efficiency of the organization once you get to the point where it's actually slowing you down. The idea is to be more efficient with your time, not less efficient. I'd say the two easiest ways to get started, other than just writing things down as you come across them, is to create a daily note. Obsidian has a button that will create a daily note for you, and just write down your thoughts as you go, about what you're thinking about, what you're interested in. I mean, you can use it sort of like a diary, or like definitely like a diary if you really want to. And you will notice patterns in the things you're interested in, and you're just more intentional in your thinking. That's really the goal at the end of the day, is just to be more intentional in your thinking. So I think a lot of us, myself included, get sucked into just the pure amount of volume of stuff that's being thrown at us in this modern age, and we just don't have we're not intentional enough about trying to parse things out and slow down and just really think about what's being shoved into our brains. And I've noticed that the more intentional I am and the more consistent I am with my journaling and daily notes, the happier and more content I tend to be. The other big suggestion I would make is to open a new note every time you start a new book. If you watch a movie, if you listen to a podcast, or even a YouTube video like this, open a note and write down your thoughts as you go. It really does help you to be more intentional in what you do with your time. You'll notice that you get more out of what you do, and I find that personally to be very satisfying. Nothing worse than spending an evening clicking through things, and you come out the other end and you wonder where your 3 or 4 hours went, and that's an unpleasant feeling. At least it is for me. But at the end of the day, just do whatever works for you. If you just want to use this personal knowledge management system just to keep track of the names of your neighbors down the street from you, because I use it for that too. If I meet somebody new in my neighborhood while I'm out walking one of my dogs, I add their name and a little bit about them to a note, and then every once in a while I'll just go through the notes and click through it so I can be reminded about who these people are. Because it's important to know who your neighbors are, and it's nice if you can remember. If you don't have a great memory like I don't, then it's great to be able to remember a little bit about who they are and what they're interested in, and it's a win-win for you and for them. But at the end of the day, do what works for you, but try it. That would be my suggestion. Try it, see how it feels. It is a no loss situation, other than perhaps the small amount of time to set it up. And again, you can watch my video on it. You can get this thing set up in 10 minutes or less. And just like this video is going to be less than 10 minutes, like I said it would. So I hope that this was a good introduction for you. I'm going to talk in a future video about artificial intelligence and how that plays in with personal knowledge management, and why I think it makes personal knowledge management even more important moving forward. That's going to be an upcoming video to discuss. I'm going to do more of these videos where I'm just talking about efficiency topics as opposed to tutorials. All right, thanks very much. Bye.